My God, Akafor whispered, there must be hundreds of them. Vega approached the nearest container. Inside floated a woman who appeared to be in her 30s, her face peaceful as if in deep sleep. A display panel showed she had been there for over 6 years. Are they alive? Rosario asked. Akafor checked her scanner. Yes, they're in some kind of suspended animation, but their brains are extremely active. Vega felt rage building inside him. What are they doing to these people? Akafor moved to a control terminal, her fingers flying over the alien interface. After several minutes, she looked up, her face ashen. According to this, they're extracting something called neural pattern matrices and creative problem-solving algorithms. They're literally harvesting human thought patterns, our creativity, our ability to adapt and innovate. Can we free them? Vega asked. Not immediately. The system is designed to terminate subjects if improperly disconnected. Akafor worked frantically at the terminal. I need time to understand the release protocols. But time was the one thing they didn't have. Alarms suddenly blared throughout the facility and lights shifted from blue to pulsing red. We've been detected, Volkov warned, drawing her weapon. Something's coming. From side entrances, figures emerged, humanoid but clearly not human. Their skin had a silvery blue sheen and their proportions were slightly wrong, with elongated limbs and oversized heads housing large, black eyes. Intruders identified, one of them announced in perfect English. Human vessel detected in restricted zone, initiate memory alteration protocol. Download everything you can, Vega ordered Akafor as Volkov took up a defensive position. We're leaving in 3 minutes with or without the complete data. As Akafor worked frantically to extract information from the alien systems, Vega and Volkov held the entrance against the advancing aliens. Their weapons proved effective, though the aliens' movements were unnaturally quick. Look at this, Akafor called out suddenly. It's not just Earth, there are dozens of worlds under containment protocols, species being studied, controlled, harvested, some for thousands of years. Got what we need? Vega asked as he fired at another advancing alien. Yes, including the location data for other Council installations in our system. They fought their way back to the airlock, Rosario suffering a burn from some kind of energy weapon in the process. As they reached their shuttle, the facility's lights began to pulse more rapidly. They're initiating some kind of security protocol, Akafor warned as she studied her scanner, possibly self-destruct. The shuttle detached from the airlock just as explosions began to rock the facility. As they sped back toward the horizon, Vega watched the asteroid facility erupt in a series of devastating explosions. We lost the physical evidence, he said grimly. But we gained something more valuable, Akafor replied, holding up her data storage device. The truth about the Council's entire operation in our system and beyond. Back on Earth, within a secured underground facility beneath the Andes Mountains, Vega addressed a carefully selected group of military leaders, scientists, and government officials, people Dr. Akafor's algorithm had identified as unlikely to be Council agents. What you're about to see will change your understanding of humanity's place in the universe, Vega began as Akafor prepared to present their findings. Admiral Huang of the Global Defense Fleet leaned forward. Captain Vega, these are extraordinary claims. You're suggesting an alien conspiracy has manipulated human civilization for centuries. Not suggesting, Admiral, proving. Vega nodded to Akafor, who activated the main display. For the next hour, they presented the evidence, intercepted communications, facility schematics, and most damning of all, records of human extraction subjects dating back decades. According to these files, Akafor explained, humans have been used as soldiers in Council wars against other species. Millions have been taken over centuries, their memories altered, their bodies enhanced, and their natural combat abilities exploited. The Council fears humanity's potential, Vega continued, yet covets our unique abilities. They keep Earth isolated and technologically stunted while stealing our people to fight their wars and fuel their advancement. General Fernandez, commander of the South American Defense Coalition, studied the galactic map they had extracted. With this information, we can identify Council weaknesses, their installations, supply routes, communication hubs. Are you suggesting we attack the Council directly? Asked Dr. Takahashi, head of the Global Science Initiative. With what? Our technology is centuries behind theirs. Vega smiled grimly. Is it? According to these files, the Council has been desperately suppressing multiple breakthrough technologies that were on the verge of discovery. He turned to Akafor. Doctor, show them what you found. Akafor displayed schematics for technologies that seemed fantastical. Gravity manipulation, faster-than-light travel, energy weapons far beyond current capabilities, all developed from theoretical work done by human scientists, work that had mysteriously stalled or been abandoned. They've been sabotaging our progress, Akafor explained. Whenever we get close to a major breakthrough, Council agents intervene, research facilities suffer accidents, key scientists die in tragedies, funding mysteriously dries up. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Finally, Admiral Huang spoke. If what you're showing us is authentic, this is the greatest threat humanity has ever faced, but also perhaps our greatest opportunity. Vega nodded. That's why we've brought you together. We need to form a resistance, a coalition of trusted individuals who can work to expose the Council's manipulation and prepare Earth for the inevitable confrontation. We're calling it Earthborn Liberty, Akafor added, because that's what we're fighting for, the freedom to determine our own destiny among the stars. As the meeting continued into the night, plans were formed, resources allocated, and a global network of resistance began to take shape. The first phase would focus on identifying and neutralizing Council agents embedded in Earth's power structures, while simultaneously working to develop the suppressed technologies using the stolen schematics. Vega knew the path ahead would be dangerous. The Council had maintained control for centuries and wouldn't relinquish it easily. But for the first time in human history, they had the knowledge and the chance to break free. As dawn broke over the Andes, the members of the newly formed Earthborn Liberty parted ways, each carrying a piece of the truth that would soon ignite humanity's first galactic war. They thought they could contain us forever, Vega said to Akafor as they watched the sunrise. They're about to discover just how wrong they were.
Unveiling the deception. Captain Nicola's Vega stared at the pulsing anomaly on his sensor display. The Horizon, Earth's most advanced deep space vessel, had been charting the Kuiper belt for 3 months, and this was the first sign of anything unusual. Jackson, are you seeing this? Vega called to his communications officer. Lieutenant Olivia Jackson's fingers danced across her console. Yes, Captain, it's some kind of signal, but it's not on any frequency we typically monitor. Definitely encrypted. Natural phenomenon? Vega asked, though something in his gut told him otherwise. Jackson shook her head. Too structured, this is communication, sir, but not ours. Vega's heartbeat quickened. 15 years in deep space exploration, and he'd never encountered definitive evidence of intelligent extraterrestrial life. Can you isolate it? Working on it, Jackson replied, her brow furrowed in concentration. There's something odd about the encryption. It's incredibly advanced, but there are patterns that seem familiar somehow. The bridge fell silent as Jackson worked, the only sounds the gentle hum of the ship systems and the occasional beep from navigational equipment. After several minutes, she looked up, her expression troubled. Got it, sir, patching it through to the main display. The central screen flickered to life. Strange symbols scrolled across it, gradually shifting into recognizable text as the ship's translation matrix processed the information. Containment Protocol 17 be active. Human expansion reaching critical threshold. Recommend immediate implementation of innovation suppression measure Epsilon 9. Subject species showing concerning advancement rates in quantum field theory. Authorization granted for agent intervention in primary research facilities. Vega read the message twice, a chill spreading through his body. What the hell is this, Jackson? I don't know, sir, but it's not a joke. This is a genuine transmission. Her voice dropped to a whisper. And there's more coming through. More text appeared on the screen. Council directive, all observers on Earth maintain heightened vigilance. Recent breakthrough in dark matter detection at Geneva facility presents containment risk. Memory alteration teams dispatched. Reminder, Earth remains classified as a Level 3 containment world. Their warfare potential exceeds safe parameters, but genetic harvesting operations continue to yield exceptional results. Vega felt cold anger building inside him. If these messages were authentic, then humanity's understanding of their place in the universe was built on a lie. They weren't alone, and worse, they were being watched, manipulated, and harvested. Jackson, download every transmission, back them up on isolated servers. Vega's voice was steady despite the turmoil inside him. Lieutenant Commander Wei, calculate the signal's origin point. Wei, the ship's navigator, nodded grimly. Already on it, Captain. Signal appears to be emanating from within Jupiter's orbit, specifically from one of the Trojan asteroids. Plot a course, Vega ordered. Maximum speed. Sir, First Officer Rajesh Patel interjected. Regulations require us to report this to Earth Command before changing mission parameters. Vega fixed him with a hard stare. If these transmissions are legitimate, we can't trust standard communication channels. For all we know, these observers could be monitoring everything. He gestured to the screen, where new messages continued to appear. Genetic extraction quota exceeded for third cycle. Human specimens showing exceptional adaptability and combat aptitude. Council Military Division requests increased harvesting operations. We need to investigate this ourselves, Vega concluded. Then bring back proof that Earth Command can't ignore. The Horizon approached the Jupiter Trojan with extreme caution, running silent with minimal power signatures. What they found hidden among the asteroids defied belief. A facility, clearly artificial, with architecture unlike anything human engineers had designed. It's massive, Wei whispered, as they observed the structure through the ship's telescopes. And definitely not broadcasting its presence. Our sensors would have missed it entirely if we weren't specifically looking. Life signs? Vega asked. Science officer Dr. Imani Akafer studied her readings. Difficult to say. The structure is heavily shielded, but I'm detecting energy patterns consistent with life support systems. Vega called his senior staff to the conference room, where Dr. Akafer had been working tirelessly to decode more of the intercepted transmissions. What we've discovered changes everything, Vega told the assembled officers, as the messages scrolled on the display. If these are legitimate, and all evidence suggests they are, Earth has been under observation and manipulation by an organization called the Council for potentially centuries. Dr. Akafer nodded, her expression grim. The technology they're describing, some of it is decades beyond what we currently possess, but the references to quantum field theory breakthroughs, those correspond to real projects back on Earth. Projects that mysteriously lost funding or hit inexplicable roadblocks, added Chief Engineer Victor Rosario. My colleague was working on quantum entanglement communication at Berkeley when her entire department was suddenly shut down. No explanation given. Security Chief Nadia Volkov's eyes narrowed. This council, they're not just watching, they're actively preventing our advancement. And harvesting us, Wei added quietly, whatever that means. Vega studied the asteroid facility on the display. I think it's time we found out exactly what they're doing. I need volunteers for a reconnaissance mission. 6 hours later, Vega led a small team toward the facility in one of the Horizon's shuttles. Dr. Ockafer had equipped them with sensor jamming technology that she hoped would mask their approach. Volkov had armed them with the ship's limited arsenal. Exploration vessels weren't equipped for combat, but security personnel carried standard-issue weapons. "Remember," Vega said as they approached an airlock Ockafer had identified as a potential entry point, "we're here to gather intelligence. We avoid confrontation if possible." The airlock yielded surprisingly easily to Ockafer's hacking algorithms, another disturbing sign that the patterns in alien technology were somehow familiar. Inside, the facility was eerily quiet. The architecture was strange, corridors curved in unexpected ways, and the lighting had a bluish tint that made human skin look unnaturally pale. They encountered no resistance as they moved deeper into the structure. "This can't be right," Volkov muttered. "A facility this size should have security." "Maybe they don't expect visitors this far from Earth," Rosario suggested. They followed Ockafer's scanner readings toward what appeared to be a central data hub. As they rounded a final corner, they froze in collective horror. The chamber before them was vast, its walls lined with transparent cylinders. Each cylinder contained a floating human form, connected to complex machinery by dozens of filaments that penetrated their bodies. "My God," Ockafer whispered, "there must be hundreds of them." Vega approached the nearest container. Inside floated a woman who appeared to be in her 30s, her face peaceful as if in deep sleep. A display panel showed she had been there for over 6 years. "Are they alive?" Rosario asked. Ockafer checked her scanner. "Yes, they're in some kind of suspended animation, but their brains are extremely active." Vega felt rage building inside him. What are they doing to these people? Ockafer moved to a control terminal, her fingers flying over the alien interface. After several minutes, she looked up, her face ashen. "According to this, they're extracting something called neural pattern matrices and creative problem-solving algorithms. They're literally harvesting human thought patterns, our creativity, our ability to adapt and innovate." "Can we free them?" Vega asked. Humanity rises. 3 months after the formation of Earthborn Liberty, humanity's covert resistance against the Council had spread to every continent. Working in autonomous cells to avoid detection, they identified Council agents, gathered intelligence, and prepared for the inevitable confrontation. Captain Vega stood at the window of their new headquarters, buried deep within an abandoned mining complex in the Australian outback. The facility hummed with activity as scientists and engineers worked to reverse engineer the technologies they'd stolen from the Jupiter facility. "Captain," Dr. Ockafer called from her workstation, "we have movement. The Council is sending a diplomatic vessel to Earth." Vega frowned. They're finally making their move. Admiral Huang, who had become the de facto leader of Earthborn Liberty's military division, studied the incoming vessel's trajectory on the main display. "They're following official first contact protocols, approaching slowly and broadcasting on open channels." "A charade," General Fernandez scoffed. "After centuries of secret manipulation, they suddenly want diplomatic relations." "They're trying to contain the situation," Vega said. "They know we discovered their operation, but they don't know how much we know or who's involved." "The vessel is requesting a meeting with the World Unity Council," Ockafer reported. "They're identifying themselves as representatives of something called the Galactic Cooperative." "Another lie," Vega murmured. "What's the status of our operation to identify embedded agents?" Lieutenant Jackson, who had been coordinating the global intelligence effort, brought up a series of profiles on the secondary display. "We've confirmed Council agents in 27 key positions worldwide, including 3 members of the World Unity Council itself." The faces on the screen included some of Earth's most influential leaders: the Global Communications Director, the head of the largest aerospace corporation, the Eurasian Defense Minister, and most disturbingly, the World Unity Council's Chief Science Advisor. "Dr. Elias Chambers," Jackson explained, pointing to the last image. He's been guiding Earth's scientific development for over 15 years. Every major research initiative passes through his office for approval. And coincidentally, Aukaffer added bitterly, the projects that get rejected or underfunded are precisely those that would lead to technologies the Council is suppressing. Admiral Huang studied the faces grimly. The diplomatic vessel lands in Geneva tomorrow. These agents will be in the reception committee, no doubt ready to help the Galactic Cooperative establish their narrative. Then we move tonight, Vega decided. Operation Daybreak begins at 200 hours. Across the globe, as midnight struck in different time zones, Earthborn Liberty cells moved simultaneously against identified Council agents. The operations were surgical and silent, no deaths, but each target was extracted from their home or office and transported to secure facilities. In Geneva, Chief Science Advisor Chambers was preparing documents for the upcoming diplomatic meeting when his office door opened. He looked up, annoyed at the interruption. "This is a restricted area," he began, then froze as he recognized Captain Vega. "Dr. Chambers," Vega said calmly, "or whatever your real name is, we need to talk about the Council." Chambers' expression didn't change, but his hand moved subtly toward a drawer in his desk. Volkov, who had entered silently behind Vega, was across the room in an instant, restraining him with practiced efficiency. "That won't be necessary," she said, removing a strange device from the drawer. Not a weapon, but something that looked like a communication tool of non-human design. "You're making a terrible mistake," Chambers said, his voice perfectly calm despite the situation. "I am a respected scientist with diplomatic immunity. This interruption could damage humanity's first contact with a peaceful galactic community." "Drop the act," Vega replied, placing a data tablet on the desk. "We know what the Galactic Cooperative really is. We've seen the containment protocols, the harvesting facilities. We know about the millions of humans taken to fight in Council wars." For just a moment, something alien flickered in Chambers' eyes. A coldness, an otherness that confirmed their suspicions. "Impossible," he whispered. "The Jupiter facility was completely destroyed." "Not before we downloaded its databases," Vega countered, "including the identity records of every Council agent on Earth." Volkov produced a scanner and ran it over Chambers' body. The device beeped, displaying results that made her eyebrows rise. "Sophisticated biological camouflage," she reported, "but definitely not human underneath." Chambers' face hardened. "You have no idea what you're interfering with. The Council has maintained galactic stability for 50,000 years. Humanity is not ready for the wider universe." "That's not your decision to make," Vega said. "It never was." Similar scenes played out worldwide as Earthborn Liberty extracted confirmed Council agents. By dawn, 25 had been captured. 2 had activated suicide protocols before they could be taken, their bodies dissolving into unidentifiable organic slurry. The alien diplomatic vessel, unaware of the night's events, entered Earth's atmosphere at precisely 10:00 Geneva time. The Council delegation was met not by the usual diplomatic corps, but by Admiral Huang and a carefully selected team from Earthborn Liberty. The aliens, calling themselves Ardani, appeared outwardly similar to the beings Vega had encountered at the Jupiter facility, though with more human-like proportions and skin tones. Their leader, who introduced himself as High Emissary Thalen, showed only momentary surprise at the change in reception committee, before smoothly continuing with prepared remarks about peaceful cooperation and cultural exchange. Admiral Huang listened politely, then activated the chamber's main display, showing footage from the Jupiter facility, the harvesting tanks, the transmission logs, the suppression protocols. "High Emissary," Huang said calmly, "we believe it would be more productive to discuss the actual nature of the Council's relationship with Earth." Thalen's composure cracked slightly, his large eyes widening. "These are serious accusations. Perhaps there has been a misunderstanding. We've already detained 25 Council agents embedded in our global leadership. Huang interrupted, including several who have confessed to implementing technology suppression protocols under Council directives. The alien delegation exchanged glances, a subtle communication passing between them. "Admiral," Thalen finally said, his voice hardening, "humanity is not prepared for the complexities of galactic politics. The Council's containment protocols exist for your protection as much as ours. There are forces in the galaxy far more dangerous than anything your species has imagined. Yet you find us suitable to harvest as soldiers for your wars," Huang countered. "Unfortunate necessities," Thalen replied. "The greater good sometimes requires difficult choices." "Not your choices to make," Huang echoed Vega's earlier sentiment. "The Council's relationship with Earth is over. We will determine our own path forward." Thalen's expression became dangerously still. "I regret that you feel this way. Please understand that the Council cannot allow a Level 3 containment world to break protocols. There are established procedures for species integration, and they cannot be circumvented." "You misunderstand, emissary," Huang replied. "We are not asking permission. We are informing you of the new reality. In orbit above Earth, hidden by advanced stealth technology developed from the stolen schematics, 3 prototype vessels of humanity's new defense fleet monitored the diplomatic exchange. They had been constructed in secret facilities over the past 3 months, incorporating elements of Council technology with human innovation. "The Council vessel is powering weapons systems," reported Captain Wei, who commanded the lead ship. Like many of the Horizon's original crew, she had been recruited into key positions within Earthborn Liberty. "As expected," Vega replied from the Geneva Command Center. "They never intended a peaceful resolution, activate countermeasures but hold fire unless they attack first." On the diplomatic chamber's display, Thalen received a communication from his vessel. His expression shifted subtly. "Admiral Huang," he said, "it seems your people have been busy. The vessels you've constructed incorporate restricted technologies. This constitutes a severe violation of containment protocols." "As I said," Huang replied calmly, "the containment is over." Thalen's demeanor changed completely, the diplomatic veneer falling away. "You have no concept of the forces you're provoking. The Council maintains order across 17,000 star systems. Your primitive defiance is doomed to failure." "Perhaps," Huang acknowledged, "but we will fail or succeed on our own terms, not yours." Thalen made a sharp gesture, and the alien delegation began to shimmer with energy, some kind of transport technology. "This discussion is terminated. The Council will respond appropriately to this breach of containment." As they disappeared, alarms blared in the command center. "The Council vessel is powering main weapons," Wei's voice came urgently over the comm. "They're targeting major population centers. Neutralize their weapons but avoid destroying the vessel if possible," Vega ordered. "We need prisoners for information." In orbit, humanity's prototype vessels decloaked and moved to surround the Council ship. They were smaller, less advanced in many ways, but incorporated innovations the Council hadn't anticipated. Hybrid technologies that merged stolen alien principles with human engineering approaches. The Council vessel fired first, a beam of energy lancing towards Sydney. One of the Earth vessels intercepted it with a specialized energy shield, dispersing the attack harmlessly into space. "Return fire," Wei ordered. "Target their propulsion and weapons systems only." The ensuing battle was brief but intense. The Council vessel, though powerful, had not expected resistance, much less from ships using technologies they thought suppressed. Within minutes, its weapons were disabled and its engines crippled. "Council vessel neutralized," Wei reported. "Minimal damage to our fleet. Boarding teams ready on your command." "Proceed with capture," Vega ordered. "This is just the beginning." 6 weeks later, Earthborn Liberty had established control over the solar system. The captured Council vessel had yielded tremendous intelligence, including the locations of 2 more hidden facilities, one beneath Europa's ice and another in Venus's upper atmosphere. Both had been secured, freeing hundreds of human specimens and capturing valuable technology. Perhaps most importantly, they'd seized a quantum communication array that allowed instantaneous contact with other star systems. In the Mars orbital headquarters that now served as humanity's unified command center, Vega and the leadership of Earthborn Liberty gathered to discuss their next steps. The room was tense with both excitement and apprehension. "We've confirmed the Council has dispatched a battle group," Admiral Huang reported. "6 vessels, significantly larger than the diplomatic ship we captured. They'll reach our system in approximately 2 weeks." "Can we defend against them?" asked President Nakami, formerly Japan's head of state and now the elected leader of Earth's unified government. Dr. Okafor activated a holographic display showing Earth's growing fleet. "We've constructed 17 vessels incorporating Council technology. They're not as advanced as what's coming, but we have advantages." "What advantages could possibly overcome their technological superiority?" General Fernandez asked. "Innovation," Rosario explained. The chief engineer had become the head of Earth's technological development program. "The Council has been stagnant for millennia. They advance slowly, methodically, without creative leaps. We've already improved upon several of their designs." "And we understand how they think," Vega added. "From the captured agents and the Jupiter facility data, we know their tactical protocols, their command structure, their weaknesses." "Most importantly," Okafor continued, "we've decrypted their superluminal communication network. We can monitor their transmissions and potentially disrupt their coordination." President Nakami studied the tactical projections. "Even with these advantages, the coming battle will be costly." "Yes," Vega agreed, "but there's something else you should see." He nodded to Okafor, who changed the display to show a galactic map highlighting dozens of worlds. "These are other contained species," Okafor explained. "Civilizations at various stages of development, all being manipulated and harvested by the Council. Some have been under containment for thousands of years. Using the quantum communication array, we've made contact with resistance movements on 3 of these worlds," Vega continued. "They've been fighting the Council in secret, just as we have, but without coordination." Understanding dawned on Admiral Huang's face. "An alliance." "Exactly," Vega confirmed. "The Council maintains control by keeping contained species isolated from one another. Together, we might stand a chance not just of defending our system, but of breaking the Council's power permanently." President Nakami considered this carefully. "The risks are enormous. If we fail, humanity could face extinction." "If we do nothing," Volkov countered, "we remain cattle for harvesting, our potential forever stunted, our people stolen to fight in alien wars." Nakami nodded slowly. "Very well, proceed with building the alliance and prepare our defenses. Humanity will not surrender its future." The Battle of Mars, as it would later be known, began at 4:27 Earth Standard Time. The Council battle group emerged from superluminal travel at the edge of the solar system, immediately deploying in attack formation. What they encountered was not what they expected. Earth's fleet met them not at Mars as their intelligence had indicated, but in a dispersed formation throughout the outer system. And they weren't alone. Vessels of distinctly different design accompanied them, ships from the Terran worlds of Proxima Centauri and Sirius that had broken containment years earlier but had been forced into hiding. "Council vessels on approach," Wei reported from the command deck of the Defiance, Earth's flagship. "They're adjusting formation to account for our disposition." "Begin electronic warfare protocols," Vega ordered. "Disrupt their communication frequencies." Throughout the Earth fleet, specialized transmitters activated, flooding Council communication channels with carefully designed interference patterns derived from their own encryption methods. "They're experiencing coordination issues," Okafor reported, monitoring the enemy fleet's transmissions. "Their formation is breaking apart." The battle unfolded across millions of kilometers of space. Council vessels, technologically superior but thrown into disarray by the unexpected resistance and communication interference, fought against smaller but more numerous alliance ships. Earth vessels employed tactics that bewildered the Council commanders, feigned retreats that led into traps, sacrificial drone ships that exploded into clouds of sensor-jamming particles, sudden vector changes that defied standard combat doctrines. The Council relies on predictability and overwhelming force, Vega had explained during battle planning. We'll give them neither. 4 hours into the battle, the Council fleet had lost 2 vessels, and the remaining 4 had sustained significant damage. The Alliance had lost 7 ships, but dozens more remained operational. They're retreating, Wei announced as the Council vessels began accelerating away from the solar system. Shall we pursue? Negative, Vega ordered. Let them go, we want survivors to report back. Report what exactly? Volkov asked. Vega's expression was grim but satisfied. That humanity is no longer contained, and neither are our allies. As the Council vessels disappeared into superluminal transit, a cheer erupted throughout the fleet. It was a victory, but everyone understood it was only the first battle in what would be a long war. 1 year later, Captain Nicola's Vega stood on the observation deck of Harmonic Station, a massive space habitat orbiting Earth. The station served as the headquarters for the newly formed Stellar Alliance, a coalition of previously contained species united against Council dominance. Representatives from 12 former containment worlds had gathered for the first formal Alliance summit. Some appeared remarkably human-like, others were strikingly alien, but all shared the experience of Council suppression and a determination to chart their own course among the stars. Dr. Acaffer joined him at the viewport, gazing out at Earth below and the stars beyond. Thinking about how much has changed? She asked. Vega nodded. A year ago, we thought we were alone in the universe. Now we're at the center of a galactic uprising. The Council still controls the majority of known space, Acaffer reminded him. The war has barely begun. True, Vega acknowledged. But we've already achieved what they thought impossible. 17 containment worlds broken free in a single year, species that were meant to never meet now working together. Below them in the Grand Assembly Chamber, President Nakami was addressing the gathered representatives. For millennia, the Council maintained their power through isolation and deception. They kept us apart, telling each of our worlds that we were not ready for the greater universe. They harvested our people, stole our creativity, and suppressed our potential, all while claiming it was for our own protection. But they made one critical mistake. They underestimated the power of cooperation, of diverse minds working toward a common goal. Each of our species brings unique perspectives, unique technologies, unique ways of problem-solving. Together, we are far more than the sum of our parts. On displays throughout the station, strategic maps showed the growing influence of the Stellar Alliance. Council control was receding in multiple sectors as contained worlds rose up, aided by Alliance technology and guidance. We've begun developing technologies the Council never imagined, Acaffer said. Hybrid systems that combine engineering approaches from multiple species. Vega smiled. The very diversity they feared has become our greatest strength. A notification chimed on Vega's communicator. Admiral Huang was requesting his presence in the Strategic Command Center. There would be new missions, new challenges as the war expanded. Duty calls, he said to Acaffer. As they walked through the station's corridors, passing representatives of species that until recently had never known of each other's existence, Vega reflected on the journey that had brought them here. It had begun with a mysterious signal intercepted in the Kuiper Belt, a glimpse behind the curtain of humanity's controlled existence. Now that curtain had been torn away, not just for Earth but for a growing number of worlds. The Council, for all its ancient power, had never faced a challenge like this, a union of the very species they had worked so hard to keep apart. The war would be long and costly. The Council's resources were vast, their control extending across thousands of star systems. But they were fighting to maintain an order that served only themselves, while the Alliance fought for freedom. And as humanity had proven time and again, there were few forces more powerful than the drive for liberty. What do you think the Council fears most about us? Okafor asked as they approached the command center. Vega considered the question carefully. I think they fear that we'll become what they could have been, a cooperative of species building something greater than any could achieve alone. A true galactic community rather than an empire of control. The doors to the command center slid open, revealing a bustling operation where humans worked alongside their new allies, coordinating the Alliance's expanding efforts against Council dominance. Captain Vega, Admiral Huang greeted him. We've just received word from the Proxima Expeditionary Force. They've located another containment world, and the local resistance is eager to join us. Vega nodded, ready for the next challenge. The stars that had once seemed so distant, so unreachable under Council suppression, were now within humanity's grasp, and they would not reach for them alone, but hand in hand with allies who shared their dream of freedom. The Council had sought to contain humanity's potential. Instead, they had created the very force that would ultimately transform the galaxy.